Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to hang out with me a little bit and watch the video. Always really appreciate that. And guys, I don't know if you heard of it, MLF Bass Pro Tour announced yesterday the anglers that have been eliminated or have been cut from the Bass Pro Tour for the 2025 season. You may have heard about it. They're having a field reduction. And what I'm going to do today, guys, is I'm going to read you off the list of the anglers that will not be fishing the Bass Pro Tour next year, and also give some commentary on the entire MLF Bass Pro Tour format and challenges they've had and the problems they've had, and sort of throw out some advice they might want to be listened to. So we're going to do that in today's video. And also, guys, I'd really like to hear your guys' opinion on that as well. Real quick, guys, before we get started, I just wanted to remind you that Tackle Warehouse still has their summer fishing sale going on. There's 20% off about anything on the entire Tackle Warehouse website through August 19th. So if you guys are interested in getting some good deals, I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. If you guys use that link, it's a good way to support the channel, and I really appreciate that. Okay, guys, like a lot of people, I can't keep up with MLF Bass Pro Tour because it's like they change, everything's changing constantly. It's like they say they're going to do one thing, then they do something else, then they tweak it and modify it, then they structure it. It's like I can't keep up with it, so I just give up anymore. But initially what they came out with was they announced earlier this year they were going to cut the field from, I think they have 80 now, they were going to cut it down to 50 for next year. And then apparently there was some outrage amongst the anglers, and they upped it. They said instead of 50, we're going to cut it to 65 for 2025. So as it stands right now, there's going to be 65 anglers on the Bass Pro Tour next year. And I'm going to read you guys the list of the anglers that didn't make the cut. But guys, with Bass Pro Tour, nothing's in stone. They could change it next week and say we're going to take 75 or 80 or 90. So this is always tentative when you're dealing with them. So here are the anglers, guys, based upon the point structure. I think they took an average over the past 3 or 4 years, and they averaged out whoever was in the top 65, plus I think some qualifiers from some other tournament circuits. And I'm going to read you the list here, who got bumped out for next year. Fred Robanis, Ryan Saltzman, Britt Myers, Scott Suggs, Brandon Colder, Matt Lee, Gary Klein, David Walker, John Murray, Cliff Crochet, Kelly Jordan, Boyd Duckett, Matt Steffen, Justin Vance, Gray Buck, Jacopo Gapaletti, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, I've never heard of that name, Colby Shrump, and Josh Weaver. Those are the anglers that didn't survive the cut into the top 65 next year. Again, this is probably tentative because that could change at any time with that. So I sort of want to address this a little bit and sort of talk a little bit about the issues that the Bass Pro Tour has had. Now, I've been pretty critical about this thing because, MLF, purchased FLW, they changed it to MLF. And guys, the strongest thing that MLF ever had, FLW, was the Phoenix Bass Fishing League, or otherwise known as like the BFLs. It used to be known as the Redmans back when I fished them early in the day. That was probably one of the greatest circuits that ever have, and still is. It's the weekend type dude, one-day tournaments, super popular, and also the Toyota Series tournaments have been pretty popular, and they've been renamed EverStarts and a ton of different names over the years. And those have been the stables of the FLW franchise, with the exception of the FLW Tour. Now, when MLF started the Bass Pro Tour, guys, it left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And I think you're seeing some residual effects from that in this particular situation, because they fractured the industry. They went over and, hijacked a bunch of people from the Bassmaster Elite Series. It left a bad taste in most of the fishing public's mouth. A lot of the guys that made that switch over there found out it wasn't all what it cracked up to be, and they tried to get back over the Bassmaster Elite Series. So it was a big hoo-ha. So there's been a lot of negativity surrounding the entire Bass Pro Tour since it began. A lot of this negativity, like I said, stems from the fact that they sort of just, they fractured the industry, whenever it was 4 or 5 years ago. That's the foundation of why they have had a hard time sort of taking off. And on top of that, it's like I can't keep up with it. They've got so much going on. They got their tournaments, they got Red Crest, they got heavy hitters, they got weak team tournament type of deals. I can't keep up with the heck what's going on with it. It's super complicated. They've got all the different type of rounds, and that's one of the things that I've heard about it is like it's too hard to keep up with the Bass Pro Tour. There's too many bells and whistles to it. And on top of that, they are constantly changing everything mid-season, or they say they're going to do something, they do something else. They say they're going to make a change, and they revamp it. Nobody can get comfortable with it because it's always changing. Here is the advice I'm going to give the Bass Pro Tour, if they want to try to dig themselves out of it. First of all, rename the circuit. Rename the circuit the MLF Pro Tour. Nice and simple. All this MLF Bass Pro Tour with all this different tournaments surrounding it, it's too much for everybody to take. Rename it the MLF Bass Pro Tour. Have 6 tournaments and 1 championship. Just keep it simple like bass fishing was when Bassmaster was at the greatest back in the 80s. Get rid of all those other postseason heavy hitters, team tournaments, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. 6 straight tournaments, MLF Bass Pro Tour, and then have the championship, the MLF, the MLF Pro Championship. That is the way that you simplify that. And then get rid of everybody on the circuit. And this is how you legitimize the organization. You say, okay, we're going to restructure this thing. We've renamed it the MLF Bass Pro Tour. We're going to have 100 guys fishing next year. This is how you pick the 100 guys. You go down the list of the Bassmaster Tournament Circuit and the MLF, which was formerly FLW. You take the top 100 money winners of all time. Now, a bunch of the guys have fished both circuits, so you got to combine the winnings off of both circuits. You figure out who are the top 100 money winners over the course of whatever time period from both Bassmaster and MLF. Combine those 2 circuits, and then you have your field of 100 anglers. Right there, you lend credibility to the organizations because you truly have the 100 top anglers in the world out there that have paid their dues. They've proven themselves over the long term, and you lend credibility and you get name recognition. Half of the dudes, or more than half of the guys that fish the Bass Pro Tour, I've never even heard of them. I don't even know how to pronounce their name. MLF Bass Pro Tour, top 100 fishermen of all time out there. Simplify the thing, and then you start from a fresh ground, from a fresh frame of reference, and make it simple. Quit having all these knockout rounds and this and that. Just have a straight 3 or 4 day tournament, and at the end of the tournament, that's who wins the tournament. 100 guys fish the whole time. It's like 100 guys fish for 3 days. At the end of the tournament, if there's 100 guys, pay the top 50, go on to the next one. Nice, simple, easy to remember. If they would do that and stick with that and try to just basically simplify the whole process, I guarantee that they would attract far more sponsors. They'd attract far more viewership out there. They'd have a lot more credibility in the industry, because right now, guys, I follow fishing. I follow pro fishing, and I can't keep up with it. I can't. There's so much stuff going on in and around the Bass Pro Tour about how you get into it, how you don't get into it, how, what tournament's up next, how you qualify for this end of the year fish off, how you qualify for team tournaments, how you qualify for heavy hitters, red crest. It's too complicated. People don't want to have to feel like they're having to solve a physics problem when they want to follow some bass fishing. So that's my advice, guys. Simplify it with that process. Stick to what you say you're going to do. Quit changing things in midstream. And then I think eventually they will get a foothold. But they've got a big challenge ahead of them, because like I said, the bad taste and the stain that they left on the fishing industry when they, lured all those guys over from the Elite Series over to the MLF Bass Pro Tour, that whether people want to admit that or not, that left a bad taste in the public's eye in the fishing world. It really did. And the way that you recover from that is to basically do what I just said. Take the top 100 all-time money winners combined from the FLW Tour or MLF and the Bassmaster Tournament Circuit. You've got your legitimate field out there. People can make a decision with that. And also, they would do well if they would work in and around the Bassmaster Elite Series so people could fish both. Back when I was fishing everything, guys, the tournaments were organized where you could fish the FLW Tour and the Bassmaster Top 150 circuit. And myself and a lot of anglers did that. We fished both circuits, and that was probably the best time in pro fishing. So anyway, guys, my 2 cents worth. Let me know what y'all think about it. We'll check in later.